Hi everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience. I'm here tonight with my first impressions of the Dan Clark Audio Aeon 2 open back headphone. Dan Clark Audio, you may know, they are formerly known as Mr. Speakers, and they are out of San Diego, California. This headphone was loaned to me for review by Apos Audio. And this headphone currently sells for $899, and that would be in US dollars. This is a full-size, wired, over-the-ear, open-back headphone. It uses a planar magnetic driver that, according to the website, is 62 by 34 millimeters. Has an impedance of only 13 ohms, so this is the lowest impedance of any headphone I reviewed, and I would assume the impedance being so low, this would be a very easy headphone to drive, but I'll talk about that in a little while because that's not actually the case. The sensitivity, which has a lot to do with that, is rated at 94 decibels at 1 milliwatt. The weight is claimed to be 321 grams. My scale comes in pretty close. I'm at 327 grams, so I think my scale is pretty accurate, but I'm not going to argue that one. They're only 6 grams apart, the claimed and the weight I actually measured. This comes with a 2 millimeter detachable cable. I'm sorry, not 2 millimeter, a 2 meter long detachable cable, and it uses a pretty much standard, has a 3.5 millimeter connection at the amp end and comes with a screw-on adapter for 6.3 millimeters. This is single-ended. And then what's a little bit unusual is at the other end, the connectors, they are similar to 4-pin mini XLRs, but they're not. According to the website, it says these are, I believe it's pronounced Hyros style connectors, and I think they are 4-pin, but these are not interchangeable with standard 4-pin mini XLRs, which many brands do use. So of all the headphones I've reviewed so far, this is the first pair that uses this connection, and I've got a lot of cables laying around and none of them are interchangeable, so I will have to just use single-ended outputs from my amps to test this and review this headphone because it just comes with the single-ended cable. Anyway, this headphone comes with a 2-year warranty. What is kind of unique about this is it is foldable, and let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Yeah, it just folds up like this and folds into a really compact size and has a small case that this fits in and makes it easier to carry. And it is very light. Like I said, it's 327 grams according to my scale, which is exceptionally light. The casing on this, I'm not sure what this is. This is some sort of plastic, or I don't think it's aluminum, I'm not sure. The grills I think are aluminum, and I think the speaker baffles are carbon fiber, and the ear pads are synthetic leather that apparently comes from Japan. They are very soft and very comfortable. In fact, this is probably one of the more comfortable headphones I've ever tried. They're very light, it has just enough clamping force to keep them from moving around, and I can't imagine these ever becoming uncomfortable. They have an adjustable head strap on them, and they swivel a little bit in this direction. That's just kind of, they're not hinged, it's just from flex, but they do swivel this way, and you get a little bit of swivel in the joint that folds up too. So they're actually, like I said, very comfortable. Getting into oh, I did want to mention, before I got into the sound, is these are called an open back headphone, but I gotta be honest, the first thing I noticed when I put these on is they block out quite a bit of the outside noise. I mean, my voice definitely changes when I put these on, and they really cut out a lot of outside noise. And I personally would consider these more of a semi-open or almost a closed back. They're not a closed back because if I do put my fingers over the grill while I'm listening to them, it does change the sound slightly. Not as much as most open backs, but it does change a little bit. So I would consider these a semi-open back, but they actually block out as much sound, outside sound, from coming in as some of the closed back headphones I've reviewed. And they actually don't leak much sound either. I mean, I compared these to the Hi-Fi Man Sundara just last night, and the Sundara leaked far more sound out into the room and also let far more outside noise in. So these, I would almost consider them a semi-open back or semi-closed back, whichever way you want to go. But anyway, I've had these maybe 3 days now, I'm not sure, and I've got a couple hours of listening in on them. And usually I try to do my first impressions before I compare a headphone or amp or whatever to others, because I want to go by how I really feel, what I think listening to it, before I compare it to something else and, you know, put judgments on it, you know, or decide whether it's good or bad in, you know, comparison to another headphone. So just listening to this without really comparing it to anything, I would say the tone balance on this is slightly V-shaped, and a little bit on the warm side of neutral, but not dark. I would say there's a little bit of hump in the bass, a little bit of hump in the treble, and then the mid-range, probably down around 1000 hertz, is a little bit recessed. It just sounds a little bit distant in that part of the frequency range. And like I said, they've got sort of a warmth to them because of the slight V shape, but I wouldn't really consider them dark. They've got, you know, good presence to the treble, and you know, I don't really feel like the treble's rolled off. Maybe just a little bit. I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll break it down into the different frequencies. Starting with the bass. I would say the bass has good extension. It has pretty good impact. And maybe not the tightest bass in the world, but not loose or boomy or anything like that. It's pretty decent. The mids, I would say, are clean, but just a little bit set back, a little bit recessed compared to the bass and treble. The treble, I would say clean, good detail, sparkle, maybe just a slight roll off in the mid to upper treble. I would say like up in the 8,000 to 10,000 hertz range. They seem to roll off just slightly to me, but so it's definitely not a bright headphone. But there is sufficient, you know, energy and sparkle in the mid-treble to make these enjoyable. The soundstage, even though I feel that these are a semi-closed headphone, has a pretty good width to it. I'm not sure about the depth yet. I need to put a little more time in. The detail, I would say, is good. There's very good detail, but with the mid-range being set back just a little bit, I feel like I'm missing a little bit of the detail in the mid-range. It's not that it's not there, it's just a little further away, so it doesn't jump out at you quite as much as, you know, a more neutral headphone. But so, you know, the detail's there, but the mid-range detail doesn't jump out at you. It's just kind of a little more off in the distance. As far as my first, you know, impressions of listening to this, I really like it, and it's an extremely pleasant headphone to listen to. It's not fatiguing at all. It has no harshness whatsoever. I'm not hearing any sibilance, and in fact, this reminds me of a few other headphones that I've listened to, and I don't have any of these headphones here right now to compare directly, but this kind of reminds me of the Bear Dynamics T1, which is a headphone I really like, And the frequency response and, you know, the bass, everything, it's similar to the T1. And another headphone that reminds me a little bit of is the Urzetish Mania, which is a little more expensive. I think that's about a $1,200 headphone. And the Mania has it's a little bit warm and bassy compared to neutral. And another headphone that I really enjoy a lot, but compared to that a little bit. And then, believe it or not, this headphone actually reminds me a lot of the Meza Empyrean, which is a $3,000 headphone. And I haven't heard that in a while, but it had sort of a distinct, kind of warm, little bit on the bassy side of neutral, tone balance. Wasn't the last word in detail, but just an extremely pleasant headphone to listen to that made everything sound good. And this headphone really does remind me of the Meza Empyrean in sound. So if you've, you know, had your eye on a Meza Empyrean for a long time but just can't afford a $3,000 headphone, this might be a headphone you want to check out. At $899, it's less than a third the price. So there is one other thing I wanted to mention, and I kind of brought this up when I was talking about the statistics, that this headphone is only 13 ohms and rated at 94 decibels at 1 milliwatt, which is sort of a, you know, middle of the road rating. But this headphone is actually pretty hard to drive. I was comparing this to the Hi-Fi Man Sundara last night. The Sundara is known for needing a decent amount of power. I mean, it's not extremely power hungry, but it needs a decent amp. And this seems to need even a little bit more than the Sundara, maybe a little bit more than the Hi-Fi Man HE500, and it's up pretty close in power requirements to the Hi-Fi Man HE560, which is, out of all the headphones I've reviewed, is one of the harder to drive. And the HE560 seems to sound thin if you don't give it enough power, but this, it just, to get it loud, I had to turn the amp up in the same, you know, sort of place I was with the HE560. Of course, I don't have a balanced cable for this, so I wasn't able to use the balanced output of my Audio GD Master 9, which is, you know, 4 times the power, 4 times the wattage of the single-ended output. So I didn't get to try it with that, but some of my smaller single-ended amps, I'm up in the, you know, like 1 o'clock, maybe even 2 o'clock range on the volume knob to get some decent volume out of these. So this probably is not a headphone for a portable player, or a phone, definitely not for a phone. I'm sure there are portable headphone amps out there that will be adequate or more than adequate for this, but you know, you're going to have one with a little bit of power because, like I said, these are not the easiest headphones to drive. So, but other than that, I'm really enjoying this. I really like the sound. Not the absolute last word in detail, but a very pleasant, very low fatigue, very, like I said, never harsh. And I'm going to put some time into these in the next couple of weeks. But I have a feeling that, you know, I'm going to be able to recommend these headphones because so far my first impression is they are very enjoyable to listen to. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up now. Once again, this is William from the Headphone Experience. If this video has helped you, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you are all welcome to join us over at the Headphone Experience on Facebook. We are now up to about 9,200 members. Thank you for watching my video.